Gerard, we are pre-recorded.
What is up, everybody? It is your favorite Friday podcast, as yet unnamed, with Gerard Michaels. To my right is producer extraordinaire David the Commie. How are you today, David the Commie?
Thank you. I'm great, Gerard. I'm great. A little saddened, though. I just finished a show with the boys. We'll get into it, but Davey no likey the ending.
Davey no likey the ending.
Davey no likey.
I love the boys, so I look forward to talking about that. Very much looking forward to you to hearing your opinion of Mar-a-Lago being raided. Being that, let's start with how last week's podcast you were like, I don't mind that Trump. It's funny how you spent the entire podcast last week saying Trump acts like a victim.
Trump, leave him alone. He's a victim.
He's a victim. So I'm looking forward to that, because if you thought he deserved
fuck him,
different treatment, excited to hear your thoughts about this. Okay. Thoughts on the state of our democracy. That's all we ever hear anymore is the state of our democracy. Yeah. This is democracy incarnate. Gentlemen, this is democracy incarnate. I want to talk about the IRS.
Okay.
Getting gadded up. The IRS is beefing up.
Yeah.
And I want to talk a little bit about Alex Jones getting beasted.
Oof.
Why the GOP deserves all of this.
Okay.
And finally, we have a really special guest today.
Oh, do we?
Yes, we have a whistleblower.
Oh.
Yeah.
We
got a whistleblower from the airline industry talking to us about what has gone on that has created this air travel crisis. And even more so, it's insane to me that the news is not covering this air travel crisis because, let's be honest, it just exposes how bad their quote unquote great reset plan is going.
Yeesh.
They have destroyed air travel in America, and a couple people at the very top have gotten very wealthy doing it, which seems, David, to be a theme here going forward, that the common man is paying for this quote unquote build back better great reset, whatever the hell it is.
Yeah.
And we're getting nothing for it, but a few people at the very top getting real rich. So I'm looking forward to that. We're going to speak to an airline pilot who's telling us what the hell's been going on. But first, the boys, huh? Don't like it?
I love the boys, man. I spent the last maybe...
For people that don't know, the boys is this is season 3, correct?
Correct.
Amazon Prime. It's a superhero show that a lot of people aren't giving a chance because they think it's like a superhero show. It is maybe the best written show on television, and it is possibly the perfect satirized representation of our current government and corporate environment that you've ever seen.
That's the best way to put it. Yeah.
It is the perfect piss take on current
everything
zeitgeist.
Yeah, exactly. It's everything. It makes fun of everything, and it makes such a good commentary on political climate. But yeah, I just didn't. I mean, spoiler alert for anyone watching the show. I didn't like the ending to season 3. Just thought it was so they were pushing it. They were stretching.
So I think that's
the
what
narrative.
Happened. Yeah, we don't need to go deep into spoilers, but they've definitely gone off canon. For people that don't know, this is a graphic novel that exists. That was a send up of Reagan 80s America, kind of in the Frank Miller Watchmen-esque, dark comic,
very Watchmen,
dark satire. But Vought is very clearly Disney
Plus.
It's very clearly Disney and ABC and the way that they just lampoon celebrity culture and really turn back the veil on that insidious relationship between government and corporate America. Some would call that fascism, but
I was gonna say, I mean, the bad guy is a Homelander. Yeah.
No, I don't know.
No, Gerard.
I don't know.
Gerard, the bad guy's Homelander.
Oh, But I think the beauty of it is it's not binary. Homelander does a lot of good things. He does a lot of bad things.
Name one good thing he's done.
Oh, he saves a ton of people, but he doesn't like doing it.
He let a whole airplane fall to its...
No, he killed everybody in the airplane.
Yeah, so who has he saved? He never saves a single soul in that
You have to rewatch it. He saves a lot of people. That's the thing. But he's resentful about having
Guys,
to do
I
it.
want you to understand, Homelander is a metaphor for Trump in the show. He is Donald Trump. And Gerard's like,
he's a metaphor.
Hold on.
Donald, he's a metaphor. I mean, they went really heavy into the MAGA stuff in season 3, but he's more of a...
Is Homelander a victim?
He's more of a metaphor for the American and military-industrial complex. It's not Trump. He is a metaphor for the military-industrial complex.
Right, but he is like symbolism for Trump.
In season 3, they went real heavy into the MAGA stuff, but no, not really. Like, he's really... Like, he is...
Yeah, I mean,
he's
overall,
the American military-industrial complex. It's like, look at how many people I've saved. You just killed those millions of people. Yeah, but look at the 50 I saved.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So, I mean, that's the idea. You know, it's like, he is, you know, a horrific super weapon, but he's our horrific super weapon.
Yeah, exactly.
And the other thing about it is, what I do like about The Boys is that there's no binary good guy or bad guy. What you don't like about Homelander, Butcher, the quote-unquote good guy, he does the same thing. He just does it to the quote-unquote bad guys. He murders everybody, but they're the bad guys, so it's okay.
Well, yeah. Butcher.
I love the show because there really is no good guy. You know, and that's the truth of it. And I think, you know, people are looking for the good guy in American politics. They're looking for the good guy. And being good or bad is momentary.
Well,
it's like,
the good guy's
decision by decision. Huh?
The good guy is the gay one.
Always. Yeah.
Just the way it's
which one's gay in Maeve. And then,
well, I don't get to determine that, Gerard. I mean,
that's true.
Technically, everyone is, so.
Technically, everyone's what?
I don't know, Gerard. I don't know the rules anymore.
What are the rules? You know who doesn't know the rules is Demi Lovato. Demi Lovato's just making this shit up.
Oh, she's just she's just like you know, when your phone does the predictive text.
Yeah.
It's like, I think this is the next thing you're gonna say, but it's somehow kind of wrong.
Oof.
Someone said that in a year she went from looking like Selena and Selena's murderer.
Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god.
My dice. But The Boys.
Obrigado, dice.
I totally recommend it. It's a great show.
Great show. It's super graphic. I mean, like...
Yeah, very graphic.
Yeah.
Don't watch with your
kids.
kids.
It's crazy that it's rated R because, like, 20 years ago, that thing would have been rated NC-17.
Yeah, that was
easy
like...
peasy, dude. But it's a great show, and the satire is fantastic, and you know the idea of good, bad, and evil is, you know, just like in regular society. It's, you know, it's from the lens, and that's a great segue into what happened last week. We had two things happen in the same week. We had the Alex Jones losing his lawsuit.
Yeah.
And initially being given a $4 million judgment against him, that I believe it was then the presiding juror and the judge deciding it should be $45 million.
That's to be distributed between the family.
Yeah. So there's two big things that come out of that, and then after that you have Donald Trump, Mar-a-Lago getting raided, which
that was this week. No, that was.
They're the
2
same.
days.
Yeah, I mean, I'm talking within the same 7 days, I guess.
Oh, gotcha.
Say,
okay.
You know, since our last podcast, those are the two big things.
Got it. So Alex Jones.
Yeah. So I have many thoughts on this, David. But first, I'd like to hear yours.
Well, dude, I mean, this was just kind of, that whole trial was just, all right, well, we all know what's going to happen here. There was no way Alex Jones was going to get out of that alive in the sense of like, dude, his legal defense, he got it off of Wish. He went on like the back pages and he just got an attorney who gave the fucking opponent 2 years worth of phone records.
Yeah, it's so negligent it almost had to be intentional.
Yeah, it's almost like, dude, hold on.
Yep.
How do you fuck that up, man?
Well, there's some people that think, you know, and again, now that we get into Alex Jones, everything becomes a damn conspiracy. But, you know, that was such negligence that they think that it may make his appeal to the Supreme Court easier. That, you know, the Supreme Court may appeal that you know that the judge should have granted a mistrial. Nobody has openly hated a plaintiff more that I've ever seen in the history of court TV than that judge hated Alex Jones.
Yeah.
That judge hated Alex Jones.
Yeah, it's easy to hate Alex Jones, especially when you're saying that these families had their kids murdered or actors.
Sure, yeah, absolutely. But that leads me in kind of like your opinion last week as well of Donald Trump, finally conceding that Donald Trump was treated differently by the media than his predecessor or his successor.
Yeah.
But you know what? He deserved it.
Right.
Now that leads us to the raid. That no former president has ever been raided. They've never, and that now makes the FBI in the last 2 years raiding Michael Flynn, raiding Roger Stone, raiding Rudy Giuliani, raiding James O'Keefe and Project Veritas.
Oh, I had no idea.
Yep. And now Donald Trump. We have to conclude one of two things, David, that all these people are guilty of crimes and the FBI is doing their job, or no Democrat has ever committed an indictable offense ever in the history of politics. So
I don't think we have to conclude that they're all guilty just because they got raided. I
Well,
mean, you don't have to be guilty of a crime to get raided.
No, you don't have to be guilty of a crime to get raided. You have to have... There has to be an executable warrant. There has to be a reason for an FBI raid.
Yeah.
So again, we have a situation here where in the last 2 years, those 5 people are the only 5 people in politics that have reasons for the FBI to raid them. Not a single Democrat, nothing to do with Nancy Pelosi's insider trading, allegedly. No reason to raid Hunter Biden. No reason to raid the Biden family. No reason for Louis Lerner or Barack Obama. Now, it is confirmed, right, that Barack Obama used the FBI to spy on the Trump campaign. That is 100. That's not a conspiracy theory. That was confirmed. Are you aware of that?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. They also, during the Obama campaign, weaponized the IRS. The IRS is on record apologizing for this and has paid out record settlements to more than 47 conservative groups for targeted political attacks, essentially auditing, these insanely intense audits and the restriction from tax-exempt status that these 501c3 charities and these PACs enjoy. And again, the IRS has admitted that. Are you aware of that?
No.
Okay.
Was not.
Well, we can pull it up. Go to, if you don't mind, so that the audience will know, go to Obama IRS scandal and just, you can read the top.
Yeah. Well, just real quick fact check on you, G. There was an FBI raid. I believe this was January 20th, 2022 is when this article was written. It says that raided Democratic Congresswoman Henry Queller's home and campaign offices. So that's kind of just because you said there was no...
Okay, so Henry Queller's. Don't know who it is, but I do appreciate that. I know for a fact that they did James O'Keefe. I know for a fact that they did Roger Stone, who was in jail.
So that's just someone I found quickly on a quick Google search. So
NPR. Here we go. October 27th, 2017. NPR. That hardcore conservative news outlet of NPR, National Public Radio.
Completely unbiased.
IRS apologizes for aggressive scrutiny of conservative groups. In a legal settlement that still awaits a federal judge's approval, the IRS expresses its sincere apology for mistreating a conservative organization called Linchpins of Liberty, along with over 40 other conservative groups in their application of tax-exempt status. Blah, 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 blah. So why is that important? Why is the weaponization of the IRS important, David? Because in our new Inflation Recovery Act, which, again, conservative stalwart Bernie Sanders says will do nothing to reduce inflation and is a smack in the face to climate. $80 billion is allocated to the IRS. They are going to hire 90,000 new agents, 87,000 approximately.
Yeah.
And we are being assured that they're only going after the tax cheat billionaires. Do you know how many billionaires there are in America right now, David?
I think I saw you post something on Instagram. It was about 600?
Yeah, there are 600 registered Americans, but apparently 714 live in America. So anywhere between 600 and 715 billionaires. Do you believe that 87,000 new agents are going to be going after 700 billionaires? Or do you think maybe they're going to be coming after the rest of us?
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and say it's the rest of us.
Yeah, I think so too, buddy. You know what? And the problem with it becomes, you know what rich people can do? They can fight the IRS.
Right. Not a little guy.
Mom and pop can't.
Yeah.
You know, the IRS, do you know who pays for an audit if the IRS audits you? Do you know who has to pay? You.
I do, yeah.
You. And then on top of it, do you know who adjudicates the audit? So you have to defend yourself against the IRS for, you know, if they audit you, right? And then their judgment comes back that you did X, Y, Z. Okay, you say, I want to challenge the judgment. Do you know who hears the judgment?
Who?
The IRS.
Fuck.
So the whole thing is meant to bully people into settling. The whole thing is meant to be like, look, we will drag you into court for 5 years and it'll cost you $5 million to defend yourself, or you can just pay this $1 million fee. That's the whole game. The whole game is to flex on the little guy. The big guy who has the money will be like, nah, bitch, let's go to court. And then it's going to cost you $10 million to get this $1 million out of me. They flip it. Double Uno, reverse card.
Yeah.
Rich people never worry about this shit because they can afford accountants and they can afford lawyers. So the IRS comes at them for $5 million. They'll pay their lawyers $3 million to pay the IRS nothing. To them, they save $2 million, right? The little guy, he don't have no $3 million that he can pay the attorneys. So if they say, dude, you owe us $500,000, guess what you're going to do? What's my payment plan? Or you're going to BK. That's what's happening. And remember when this came out about a year ago and everybody kind of thought about it and they were like, that's stupid. When they said the IRS is going to start tracking all Venmo over $600, Venmo, PayPal, $600. Dude, the IRS hired 87,000 new agents to come after Uber drivers, to go after influencers making YouTube money, to go after OnlyFans. That's what these people were hired for. They're not hired to go after the billionaires. They're coming for us, buddy. And don't you think about it. And not only that, you know they spent $700 million on ammunition? The IRS.
The IRS.
Why does the IRS need $1 billion of guns and ammo? These are accountants.
Second Amendment, baby.
Dude, Democrats took the IRS like he was little tiny Chris Evans. Small little Brooklyn boy. And they injected this motherfucker with super serum. And now we got Captain America IRS gonna come
all over us.
All over us. And you know what? You know what ESG is?
No.
Look up ESG.
ESG.
ESG, Environmental Social Governance. It is a social credit score. Already doing it in China.
Oh, yeah. I've seen this.
I believe over 500 companies have signed
portfolio.
up. Yeah, go ahead. What is it?
ESG Sustainability Regulations. ESG Governance?
Yeah, buddy. People look into ESG.
So it's like how cool I am?
Yeah, in the eyes of who? How cool you are in the eyes of who?
Dude, luckily I'm on the right side of the aisle.
Yeah.
You on the other hand?
Yep. So you good guys who are, and it is important to remember, folks, that the Democrats are the good guys. It's important to remember that. They're the ones protecting you from speech you don't want to hear. They're the ones attacking the politicians that you don't like. They're the ones shutting down any opposition to their ideas, and they are the ones going after the individuals and small businesses that do not comply with the future that you all deserve.
Thank you for saying that.
Some people might, again, confuse this with like fascism, but they can't be fascists.
Exactly.
Because they call themselves anti-fascists.
Bingo.
That's the rule.
There you go.
Can't do it.
And we'll move on to the next topic. What do you think of the boy?
So, I mean, where are we at here, David? Like, where are we at? I mean, look, obviously, for people that don't know, David is not a communist.
I'm not a communist.
For people that don't know, he's a moderate, left-leaning, younger guy, right? So, but you're also an incredibly reasonable guy. So, I enjoyed our conversation last week. Although I disagree with you, I enjoyed it, and it's just very interesting that after that conversation of, Trump not being, I thought about it a lot, about how different our interpretation of the same events were. And now this happens this week. And that same interpretation is happening where half of Twitter thinks that this is finally justice being served. And the other half of Twitter thinks that, enough is a freaking enough of the selective enforcement. And the idea becomes, for a guy like me, again, a little disgusted in you for making me defend Trump last week. Now,
you were really defending him.
Yeah, because
called him a victim.
Well, here's the thing, though. You have to defend that's the whole idea of the First Amendment. It's the whole idea of it.
Yeah.
The whole idea of justice is defending people you don't like. It's not about being in the club. It's not about membership has its perks. It's about what's right and what's wrong, regardless of whether I like the person personally or not.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
So
I guess that's a good point.
So now you sit here and you say to yourself, wow, okay. So they're raiding Trump. Did Trump do something to get raided? I don't know, probably.
Exactly.
Now they raid nobody else. And now you have to say to yourself, all right, they're literally once again playing by a completely different set of rules. And then you have the obnoxious shit with Hillary Clinton going online and selling merch.
No, she didn't.
Merch. And the merch says, but her emails.
I'm buying it right now.
But her emails.
I'm sorry. I'm going to have to stop you. Are you saying butt hurt?
Remember, because it was lock her up about her emails.
Yeah.
And what were her emails? She had confidential emails, confidential documents.
Right. On her Gmail.
Again, on our Gmail account, not even an encrypted account. And dude, what did they do? They took bleach and sledgehammers to all their servers.
Yeah.
So they're like, yeah. And then again, this is what drives me out of my mind with these hardcore leftists. They're like, was a single email found? No, I guess not. Just like not a single murder weapon's been found for any of her 45 victims. They're good at this, right? This is the Teflon Don shit. Now she's selling merch about getting away with the same exact thing that they're trying to get Trump on. Trump was raided over. Are you seeing it?
I'm looking at the merch right now.
Look at it.
But her emails. Oh, this is so cringy, dude. This is so fucking cringy. It's so pandering to the youth. It's giving emails. Fuck you, Hillary Clinton, you bitch.
Yeah, dude.
Reptile.
She's not a vibe. She's not a vibe.
Oh my God. It's giving emails.
Oh, dude. So this is where we're at again. Now, one, does any of this matter to you? Does it register to you?
I feel like we just don't know enough right now. All we right now have is speculation, right? It's oh, look, he was raided. No Democrat was raided. It's right before the election. Not right before, but it's setting up. Mm-hmm. I just think I don't have enough real solid facts to say that he didn't warrant getting raided. There are some things that his kids have even admitted to, that there were some documents taken out of the White House that probably shouldn't have. And if that's, reason enough to get raided, then it's reason enough to get raided. Maybe he did take some shit out, but it was all, normal shit that he could have, and it just looks sketchy. Or, whatever it is. I just don't know enough right now to say, you son of a bitch, you're going down. Mm-hmm. Or this treasonous cunt did take some shit out, and he's going to go to prison like he should. Mm-hmm. I just don't know enough yet.
Now, the Alex Jones thing, right? Alex Jones. To that same point, Alex Jones gets $45 million for essentially lying about Sandy Hook, right? Because he owes
$45
Yeah, he owes them $45 million.
Yeah.
He defamed the families. Any precedence on the fact that the Steele dossier was completely fake and that Rachel Maddow, MSNBC, CNN, Anderson Cooper perpetuated that lie against Trump, against, essentially the Republican establishment? Should they be held accountable in the same regard, the same way that Alex Jones has now been held accountable for lying? Because the Steele dossier is 100% proven to be a fabrication. Worse than a fabrication, it was paid for by the Hillary Clinton campaign. Should she be held accountable the same way Alex Jones was held accountable? Should she be held financially accountable? Should every media member be held to the same standard Alex Jones was? Every single member that
yeah, but if there's no one...
If we're going to start getting media members... If we're going to start holding them accountable for $50 million for every time they lie, God forbid somebody took a vax. God forbid they took it and died. We know not a single person that's happened to. Not a one.
That's not true, Gerard. No one's claiming that the vax hasn't killed anyone.
If you perpetuated a lie that it was completely safe and somebody died, which Alex Jones killed nobody, right? If you perpetuated a lie and somebody died and you're a media member, should this Alex Jones trial not be precedence for you to be held accountable? Again, everybody in the media loves that it happened to Alex Jones because they hate Alex Jones, and they don't mind. They actually went out of their way. The attorney went out of his way to say this is important because it's not enough to financially hurt him. We have to take away his ability to have a platform.
Yeah,
they literally are silencing a political opponent, and they're not shy about it. So now
You're talking about Trump?
No, this was Alex Jones. This was the attorney in the case.
Yeah.
So now I have to ask: is that the precedent? Should all of us, and then I'm going to turn it to why the GOP sucks. If the GOP were any sort of a real actual entity, if they actually were in this fight, if they were actually standing up for any of their constituents, they would be suing Rachel Maddow, Anderson Cooper, Joy Reid, every single one of them, 50, 60, 70 different lawsuits.
Yeah,
they would be attacking them to no end because this is the new precedence now. Every dollar Rachel Maddow has should be Donald Trump's. She defamed him with the Steele dossier, 100%.
So why isn't any action being taken against
That's
him?
a great question.
That's the thing. It's like, well, yeah, they should be. If that was a lie, if everything was planned, then yes. Yeah, of course, by the rules, then yeah, the same thing should happen to them, but only if charges are pressed.
Well, it was a civil suit. It wasn't a criminal suit.
Well, it was a civil, as long as something is done in order to get that to happen, there is no one that's going to do it for you.
Sure.
So why isn't Donald Trump going after them? Why aren't all these people, victims of these people, going after him?
It's a very good question. And what I really have come to realize and what I really come to understand is that this is why this keeps happening. Because Republicans bark, but Democrats bite. Mm-hmm. And there's a weakness about Republicans that they refuse to admit because Republicans tend to be individually tough people, but they really just want to be left alone. Independents, way more so. Libertarians, way more so than independents. They just want to be left alone. I don't want to do this shit. I don't want to be involved in this stuff. I don't care enough about a single cause to do cardio for it.
But I do want to take. It's like, don't involve me. I don't want to give. I don't want to be involved. But when it's time to take, I'll take.
Such as what?
If we go into Republicans always, being in favor of the rich and giving tax breaks and all this shit, it's like there is this sort of thing where it's like, yeah, money, but I don't want to give. I don't want to help. I don't want to do this. I don't want to fund that.
Well, the tax breaks, I would say, are a philosophical difference, right? Like, yeah, I don't want to fund this is a philosophical difference, right? Like, yeah, Rand Paul does a great thing every year where he does like a little self-audit on the dumbest things government spent money on. We spend, $3 billion to study the, beavers on sexual habits on cocaine. Like it's a great thing he does it after, like pretty much every New Year's. And there's so much government waste and there's so much graft and there's so much, it's the same thing. Like, we talked about the political theater. Now they got Jon Stewart out there. They'll be like, if you won't give money to burn victims and, it's like, who could possibly not want to help?
The thing is, I don't want Republicans painted as like, I just want to be left alone in my cabin in the woods. Leave me alone. They're also fucking corrupt, selfish cunts. Like, they're not this like, poor little thing, leave me alone.
The people or the politicians?
A little bit of, I'd say politicians, but also the people.
Nah, the people.
I can't say the people.
I disagree with you.
The people is a more general thing. The politicians.
Yeah. According to Roca News, over 1 million registered Democrats have changed their registration to Republican in the last 12 months. 1 million. The Democrats are losing the common man because they don't like this authoritarian bullshit. Now, whether that matters or not, time will tell. I would say Republican politicians are in the middle of their own civil war. Before there's a civil war in America, there's a civil war in the Republican Party. You have the neocons, the old school Republicans. You got your Bushes, your Cheneys, who those are the people I would 100% agree with you. Those people love big government. You know, they love the FBI. I mean, it's pretty funny right now where you have Democrats wanting to defund local police while loving federal police. And then you have Republicans wanting to support local police while wanting to defund all federal police. I mean, there's, you know, the politicization of justice will be the thing that rips this country in half.
Dude, it's a snake eating its own tail.
Once you have two sets of rules, there's no reason to play nice in the sandbox. And I'll be honest, I'm part of the problem because I want the fight at this point. Like it's dude, it's gotta stop. I either want it to stop or I want to throw hands. Like either we do it or we don't. I'm so done with this.
Tired of the barking.
I'm tired. Like either Daddy DeSantis, give me the green light. Like let me go. Like that's all a lot of us want. And I got a feeling that's actually a good thing for the country because these people are bullies, David. They're bullies. And a punch in the mouth is not when you're being punched in the face, punching back is not escalation. I'm so sick of these people in politics going, no, we're going to do it the right way. We're going to win at local elections and we're going to change. No, you're not. They're never going to let you. If you play by their rules that they don't even play by, you're not noble. You're a sucker.
Yeah.
If you're getting punched in the face, punching back is not an escalation. I had a woman blow up at me, this girl I went to college with, who I thought was a great friend. We were more than friendly at one point.
Whoa. What does that mean, Gerard?
Well, she's a great girl. From Philly. She's a nurse. Our politics very, very, very different as we've gotten older. And she's super supportive. She's a black girl. She's super supportive of, this, what I would consider this black nationalist movement with BLM and everything like that, what she considers like a fight for equality. And, I point out, the corruption within BLM, and she loses her mind, and calls me selective. That I don't. It's an amazing thing, by the way, when you point out corruption in something, and instead of them being like, "Yeah, they're corrupt," that sucks. They immediately want to be like, "Well, how come you don't know everything about the corruption of everything else in the world?"
Yeah,
because everything else in the world isn't shutting down my cities and isn't marching and isn't in the top of the news. That's number one. Yeah. But I feel like I do point out corruption pretty often. If you're being honest with me, do you know anybody that was earlier on the Ukraine corruption than me? I mean, honestly, if you're being honest with yourselves and you guys follow me, was anybody that being like, this is sus from the jump more than me? I had people coming after me for being like, yo, you must love Vladimir Putin. Oh yeah, that's me. I'm the guy who likes authoritarians. Yeah. No, they was sus from the jump. From the jump. $80 billion, by the way, for the IRS, David, to come after American citizens. While we've given $60 billion and counting to the Ukraine, and we have no idea where that money went. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine our government, the people that we send to protect us, writing the Ukraine a blank check? There's nobody overseeing it. Now they think as much as 70% of that money, 70, hasn't made it to the front lines. Gone. Ether.
Fuck, dude.
Ether. Gone.
And then they were on Vogue.
This devastating war, but first a photo shoot. Yeah, dude. I
love the PR move of like, hey, you got to take off that suit and put on this like green army thing.
Yeah.
By the way, never take it off.
Do you have one with holes in it?
Yeah. Do you have one? Oh, maybe some blood.
Yeah.
Dude, get the blood.
Yeah. Can we get the prop blood?
Can we get the blood?
Do we have time before Sean Penn gets here? Oh, he'll wait. Yeah.
Get the sick kid in here. He'll pose with the sick kid.
Yeah. Ben Stiller, your cue.
Why is he still wearing the fucking military thing? Why did he wear it to the shoot? He could have worn a nice suit.
And who was the woman that got caught with $100 million coming out? She's one of the. They had $100 million in a suitcase. They got caught leaving the country. Where are they getting this money, David?
$100 million in a suitcase. Have you heard of Venmo? You heard of PayPal?
So there you go, bro. The IRS, $80 billion to come after American taxpayers just for that money to get sent over to the Ukraine.
Write me a money order.
And if you don't give your tax dollars, they will throw your ass in jail, boy. They'll come get you. But
gotta catch me.
Yeah, I guess so, bro. Yeah, so unconcerned about the quote unquote liberal world order. Because I mean, you voted for the people that are in office. You're like, okay, I trust these guys. I think that this is, I think that this is being overblown. Do you think what is your take on the current moment? Because you guys, your generation, you guys don't seem to be nearly as worried as people in my generation. Because
I disagree. I think there is this panic kind of like in this area of the stomach for people my age, but we kind of drown it out with TikToks and everything because it's still, at least for me, sort of feels like that's like the adult's problem. Meanwhile, I'm like pretty close to 30. I am very much an adult. I'm like, that's someone else's problem. That's not me, right? Everything's fine. You just keep scrolling. That's kind of where I'm at. And as far as I voted for Biden, and I did, because I felt that there was this big division in our country, and I was just tired of hearing fucking Orange Man bark up there. I hated how cocky he was. I hated his attitude. I hated everything about it. So I originally did not vote for Biden, but once the government gods chose him as our leader, I was like, fucking guess. And yeah, in retrospect, would I have done it again? Yeah, fuck Orange Man, in my opinion.
What was it about Orange Man's policies that you didn't like? Forget the rhetoric. I can understand why you didn't like it.
And I think that's the issue, is that part of me was also sort of led into this Orange Man bad. Look how he talks. Look how he does. And I didn't look enough into his policies and see all right, well, what is he doing? And what's the actual, what are the facts about his presidency and what he's done? And I think it was mostly my hatred for him was just what type of division he created for my neighbors, for my family, for everyone, that was like, you either like Trump or you don't. And if you don't, you're like this liberal dumbass. And if you do, you're a fucking Nazi.
Yeah.
It was weird. And I hated that. So I was like, dude, this guy is just, to put in my millennial terms, just bad vibes.
Bad vibes.
Bad vibes, dude. Leave the party. Dude,
did you
no
feel,
one likes you here. And the people that do like you are like the old, not cool white people. You know what I'm saying? Nothing about his party was cool. And we were talking about Juneteenth parties.
Yeah.
Nothing about MAGA parties were cool. They were just doing the hokey pokey in the YMCA. So I was like, oh, dude, this guy is bad vibes.
Yeah.
Who invited this guy?
The boat rallies. You gotta call it what it is. The MAGA boat rallies do look pretty cool.
And I will say, Republicans have the hottest women.
There was somebody sent me something last night. There's a girl who follows me. I'm pretty sure she follows me, and she sent me something last night, and it's it was like a like one of these Dear Abby things or whatever. It's I am a voracious liberal, and I am madly in love with conservative men.
Oh, no. God damn it.
And it's like a dear, but it's hilarious. I'll try to post it, but it's the whole thing was just so funny, man. It was just she's like, I want to hate everything about them, but they're, the masculinity, every time they argue with me, I like it more. And they're, I'm just so sick of these spineless liberal men. I push their buttons and they apologize. I don't want you to apologize. I want you to fight back. And I'm like, Jesus Christ. You're crazy, lady.
But yeah, so policies about Trump, there were some things you were talking about that I didn't
want to
like.
ask you. Hold on. I did want to ask you, though, because I can see that. But what was interesting to me, because we talked about this a little bit last week, you didn't find Obama to be divisive at all.
Well, see, that's the thing. I was too young to really analyze Obama's presidency and his term. For me, Obama was, this guy that was very formal and very well-spoken and very much leader. But I wasn't aware enough to be like, oh, well, I didn't like his foreign.
Yeah.
Nah, I just didn't know.
And also, this is the problem with the way the media portrayed both of them.
Yeah.
Because for me, Obama was just as divisive. Now, he didn't pick stupid fights. Obama was much more couth. He knew how to do it in the shadows.
Bingo.
Obama did. I mean, some of his quotes are unbelievable, where he's going up to a Democrat who voted against Obamacare and goes, don't you think for a second we're not keeping score? Threatening this person. You know what I'm saying? Obama is a Chicago politician.
Just, Oh
yeah, I'm sure. Let's.
Well, why isn't that in jest? So when Trump's like, you grab her by the pussy, that's come on, just locker room
talk.
Yeah, but then when he's like, don't you think for a second we're not keeping score? That's not just. That's a threat,
brother.
You see, that's the issue, right?
Brother, you're literally making my point for me. The point I'm trying to make is that Obama is held to a completely different standard as Trump. One is the great divider. The other one is, the great uniter. They're the same type of person to me. I see the same person.
Yes and no. I mean, there are two different comments right there, right? He's like, oh, don't you think we're not keeping score? To like, and then you fucking grab her by the pussy.
Sure.
It's like, one of them is...
Obama. I used to read, I would recite the Communist Manifesto to get chicks. Like, I mean, look, he's definitely more couth. He's definitely more cool. Trump is way more crass. Now, in fairness, what Trump was saying, he thought wasn't being recorded, right? The fact that got out. Again, I'm wondering if...
Sure, he said other shit where it was on a podium at one of his rallies.
I'm wondering if the reason you feel the way you do has to do with the media manipulation. The fact that the media always presented Obama in a positive light and always presented Trump in a negative light has to have had an effect on your feeling of these two things.
Well, it depends on... I mean, yes and... I guess to some degree, yes, but also the media presented Trump in a good light. I mean, you talk about Fox News.
Are you watching Fox News?
I'd watch Fox News sometimes. I'd hate watch it, but I was still watching it. So to say that Trump only got negative press,
oh my God, dude, come on. There's literal statistics that show the negative press he got by comparison.
Yeah, but he didn't only get negative press. There was also big media showing positive press on Donald Trump, Fox News, Fox and Friends, and any other right-leaning.
Chris Wallace on Fox News was positive Trump.
Gun to my head, I couldn't paint you a picture of him.
He literally debated against him. It was a 2-on-1 debate in the Biden debate. Chris Wallace debated against Trump. It was a joke.
Yeah, but Gerard, I mean, majority of Fox News
we can't move forward as look,
Trump.
Sean Hannity was an actual cheerleader for Donald Trump. I get it, but we can't move forward as a society.
Tucker Carlson is blowing him right now.
Yeah, Tucker Carlson was really tough on Trump in the beginning, man. Tucker Carlson was the first one that would come out and be like, "You're fighting needless battles."
And then what?
And then what?
And then he wasn't. And then he was like...
I also think this idea of Tucker Carlson being like labeled as a white supremacist is the most asinine thing in the world. Tucker Carlson is...
That guy is the biggest cuck. I have an email from him begging me to bang his wife.
Okay. And why? Now, it's funny. Tucker Carlson's the biggest cuck. Joy Reid? No. Anderson Cooper? No.
Saint.
Yeah. Dude.
I'm just kidding. No, honestly.
Yeah, dude, this is the most frustrating part of it, though, man, because, somebody told me something the other day, and no, for real, it's so frustrating because there is such a clear double standard, and liberals won't admit it exists, despite all the evidence to the contrary, which is fucking infuriating, and B, even if you finally get them to be like, all right, well, yeah, there's a double standard, but they deserve it. That's the two things where it's like, you know what, man? All right, let's just have the battle. Let's just fucking do it. Like, let's just do it. Now you got people online calling for fucking to have raid Clarence and Ginny Thomas's house next. Okay, why? Because you don't like their opinion?
Yeah, exactly. That's
okay, ridiculous. Guys, what you're asking for is war. And I am of the opinion that says, okay.
Yeah. Here's the thing though. If there is a war where it's right versus left, and I'm like we said, moderately left, I will 100% go right. They have guns.
Yeah, but they don't use them.
No, you're right. They're bark don't bite.
Bark don't bite. They got their entire country taken over. They had every city. They let every city in America be seized by Starbucks baristas.
Hell yeah, baby, with blue hair.
What I mean, I honestly feel like the far left, the globalist left, keeps trying to find the line that they can't push the right to. Yeah. They can't find it. They're like, oh my God, these guys are for real, for real. They're gonna let this happen? Okay, fine. Find a new line. The right they've got no leadership.
Nope.
They got no balls. I feel like, honestly, man, we can do one thing and we can fix this country. One thing.
Oh, what is it?
I believe
we should cut the transmission right here. They want to shut me up.
Yeah. But again, there's no leadership, and it would take so much trust from your fellow citizen to do it. You'd have to trust that everybody was on board.
Oh, I know where you're going to say. I mentioned this before.
And it would be a snowball effect. You would just need to get it off the ground, and then they would not be able to stop it. There aren't enough IRS agents in the world. There aren't enough bullets in the world to stop this. But you have to get that first million people in. This is what Occupy Wall Street should have been. We should do a debt strike. Citizen debt strike. Americans don't know, people around the globe don't know what credit is, really. They don't understand how credit works. They don't understand how wealth works. Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, everybody is out there trying to work as hard as they can, work your fingers to the bone to accumulate money. Do not accumulate money. Get access to credit. If you want to be wealthy in America, you have to have access to credit. Nobody gets wealthy making money anymore. I cannot be clearer about this. Nobody makes money working anymore. You'll make just enough to get by. You have to have access to credit. You don't have enough years in your life to save up to buy a house outright. You have to have credit. You have to be able to get a mortgage. You have to, and then once you have you know what the difference between credit, you know what the difference between debt and leverage is, David?
Yeah, you can monetize leverage.
That's right. It's whether or not it's a net negative or net positive. Now, that's dumbing it down. That's way dumbing it down. That might be the name of the podcast. Dumbing it down.
Dumbing it down.
Dumbing it down.
You might have just found it.
I love it. But if you take out an asset, that's credit. If that asset makes you money, it's leverage, right? So if I take out $10,000, but it makes me $15,000, theoretically speaking, I can take out $100,000 and it'll make me $150,000. I can take out $1 million, it'll make me $1.5. I was never my money to begin with, but I'm wealthy now, right? The government works off of debt. How many trillions of dollars in debt are we? What is our deficit?
I don't even know, dude.
What is our deficit? It's a death spiral.
Yeah.
Never get out of it.
Who do we owe exactly?
The World Bank. Honestly, we owe...
Who the hell is the World Bank?
Us and Saudi Arabia mostly. We owe ourselves.
How does that work?
Oh, it's a beautiful scam.
I don't get it. How do I... Here.
Would take a whole nother episode.
Just forget about it. That's what I would say if I owed myself.
Take a whole nother episode. Yeah, it's a scam. It's a 100% scam. The Fed Reserve, fractional reserve banking, scam. Scam. They sell us our money.
See, this is where I continue scrolling on my phone. I'm like, this is scary and I don't like it.
Okay, so there we go. How do I get people like you to listen? Because what we need to do is we need to opt out. If we went on a debt strike, if our citizens went on a debt strike, before the Civil War started, before they got us to fight each other, we just said, all right, well, let me try this first. Republicans, Democrats, liberals, conservatives, all of us, white, black, gay, straight, we are being screwed by the globalists.
Yeah.
We are being screwed by the global elites who are taking over our country. We are paying out the ass for a lower quality of life. There is nothing in America right now today that we are not paying more for than we were 2 years ago and are getting less out of. Not a single thing. We are getting a raw deal on every single thing that we are purchasing right now today. There's not a single thing. Not gas, not air travel, not internet service. They're you have unlimited data. Oh yeah, read the fine print for the first 10 gigs. After that, we restrict you down, blah, blah, blah. It's bullshit.
Yeah.
The consumer is getting screwed. We should opt out. Learn from Donald Trump. Everybody wants to talk about his 6 bankruptcies. You get a bad deal, you know what the biggest tool you've got in your box is? Stop paying. Stop paying.
They would never let us know, though, that everyone stopped paying. Like, they would stop us from uniting.
We stop paying your credit card bills. They would all have to happen at the same time. Because if one person does it, they weaponize their IRS and they shove it up your ass. But if 1 million people do it, look at 2008. It doesn't take much, man. These people are so greedy. They're so greedy. They've got this system. Right? And we're going to talk to a pilot at the end of this podcast that's going to talk to you about how greedy the airlines are, how they have the airlines maxed to capacity.
Tom,
Excuse me.
What the fuck are you doing right now?
Excuse me. My phone's connected to the thing. We'll cut that out.
Jesus. They're so greedy. We're going to talk to an airline, and we're going to talk to an airline pilot at the end of this episode that's going to tell you how greedy the air industry is, how they have maxed out every single cent they can possibly make, how they took $7 billion of taxpayer money and fired 30,000 employees. And that's why your flight is delayed for 12 hours, because fuck you. That's why. Your flight's delayed 12 hours because they don't give a shit. They've already got your money, right? Your customer service is worse than ever because they don't give a shit. They've already got your money. Do you know DC is laughing at us? They took 2 years off, gave themselves a raise, and now they're going to tax you more than ever. And they're going to call it the Inflation Recovery Act on top of it. They hate you. They hate you. They think you are the biggest moron in the world. You say, hey, are we in a recession? And they roll their eyes like you're a child, and they redefine what recession means right in front of you. They hate you. They have no respect for you. They know you're not going to do a thing. The only people that organize and march work for them. You have no options. The food that you eat is going to go up through the roof. Don't like it? Starve. Don't like the prices? Don't eat the food. We got cricket powder. They hate you. They're not working for you. And you have two options. And the nonviolent option is the debt strike, where 1 million people get together and say, no, enough is fucking enough. I am not paying my mortgage. I don't care if you cancel student loans. I'm not paying them. I'm not paying my credit cards. Now, if 10 people do it, if 20 people do it, if 200 people do it, the 90,000 IRS agents will fucking ruin their lives. So nobody's going to be the first person to do it. But if we want to save this country, if we want to save our future, and as dramatic as it sounds, if we want to save Western civilization, if we think it's worth preserving, this is how you do it. 1 million of us get together, and we just stop paying. You say, all right, nope, not paying anymore. I'm out. I opt out. I opt out of the corruption. I opt out of the greed. I opt out of this system that is making me pay with the hours of my life for my own repression. I'm out. And it wouldn't take much. It'd take 100,000 people to start. Hurricane Katrina, these greedy assholes were leveraged so far. They were leveraged so far. It took a mortgage crisis interacting with, a life insurance crisis, and that was a domino. Next thing you know, economy's in shambles. Big bailouts everywhere. Cars need to be bailed out. They're so intertwined. They're so greedy. These big banks are so interbred with one another. These government organizations, these corporations, what BlackRock is doing with these hedge funds, people's retirements, they're gambling on them. They're using ESG. They're losing a ton of money to try to social engineer the planet. It's insanity. Opt out.
Hashtag world
debt strike.
Debt strike. Hashtag world debt strike.
Stop paying your debts. Renegotiate. Make them come back to the table. This is what unions should be doing.
Yeah.
This is what church groups should be doing. This is what the people need to understand. This is where you hit them in their wallet, and their wallet is debt. If you take away, they have us all living on a subscription service already. We already own nothing, and we are not happy.
It's true.
This is how you do it. And if you don't do it, your younger generations don't stand a chance. Don't stand a chance. My generation might be the last generation that'll be able to afford to own a home. David, your generation might legitimately be the last generation to know what a middle class is, The middle class is under attack. Yeah. They're gone. This Inflation Recovery Act was designed specifically to destroy the middle class. And it's freaking infuriating that they say, we're not going to go after anybody making less than $400,000. Okay, sure. Mm-hmm. It's an attack on small businesses. It's an attack on mom and pop shops. It gives corporations an access to billions of dollars in a war chest. All the money goes to the top. All the money goes to the bottom to support the top against the middle. The middle class is under attack. And the only chance they have is a debt strike. Because if people won't even not pay their debts, then they're definitely not going to storm the castle. So, yeah, I'm telling you. And I wish I had the organizational skills to do it. I wish I was the man. I wish I was the one. I don't know if it takes a hashtag, bro. It takes a lot more than that. It takes, like, Maxine Waters and the Democrats. You got to give them a ton of credit. The Democratic Socialists, the far left Bernie Sanders people, they get together, they pool their money, and hey, march for us. And if you get arrested, we're going to pay your bail. They've got the war chests. Right. We're going to pay your bail. You know, we're going to, if you go to battle for us, we'll help you out. Hell, they even pay their protesters. People think all these protesters are organic, which is hilarious to me. These people are making $15 an hour to protest. Where's that money coming from? You know, maybe that's what we need. We need a rich benefactor, but I don't see a rich benefactor being part of the hey, the rich are evil, this is how we beat them movement. You know? So, again, the debt strike would do it, guys. The debt strike would change the world. The debt strike would put the ball back in our court, and nobody would have to get hurt. Nobody would have to sacrifice their life. You would cripple these corrupt systems. You would cripple these corrupt organizations just by keeping your credit card in your wallet for 6 months. Cripple them. Cripple it. It would all crumble to the ground. And then they'd have to beg us because it's our money. At the end of the day, it's our money. And the money, David, is the hours of our lives. The hours of our lives. Yeah. So, with that, David the Commie, we have an incredible opportunity today to speak with a guest who has been an airline pilot with a major carrier for more than 2 decades. And they are going to give us some insight onto what is going on with air travel. I don't know if you're aware of this, David, because you live in a hovel, but air traffic has never been this bad in my life. It's more expensive than it's ever been. You know that I've been traveling pretty much once a week since my time in minor league baseball, and as a comedian, I travel all over the country. It's killing us. It's absolutely killing us. It's eating into whatever small profits we make. It's twice as expensive, and we honestly don't know if we're ever going to get there. Wow. So much to the point where we used to fly in day of, just so people know, give you a little insight into your favorite comic and why they can't hang out after the show. They're not avoiding you. What happens is we try to fly in day of and fly out day of if possible. This way we don't have to spend money on hotels. Right. But now we actually have to get in a day early, which is adding a whole nother cost. So we used to stay in a hotel one night. Now we have to stay at least 2 nights. You just literally doubled all of your travel costs for the year, in addition to the fact that as of this morning, in our last podcast, I told you that air travel was up 33% in price for the year. As of this morning, even though the great leader himself, Joe Biden, says inflation's at 0%, so good for us, it's up 39% for the year over year. From this time last year, average air travel is up 39%. That's 40% increase. My God. In price. So without further ado, with all the doom and gloom, there was over 400 flights canceled out of Newark Airport last weekend alone, my hub that I fly out of. And every time I fly into Dallas, nothing seems to take off on time. Airline pilot extraordinaire, thank you so much for joining us today. Can you help us make sense of what is going on with the airline industry currently?
Well, I will certainly try, Gerard.
Well, let's start at the very beginning. Why are there so many cancellations, and why does it seem like nobody's flight is taking off on time anymore? I mean, just for some numbers, 8% so far this year. 8%, almost 1 out of every 10 flights out of Newark Airport, one of the largest international airports in the world, is being canceled, not delayed, canceled. You have a 1 in 10 chance of your flight being canceled so far in 2022. How can we be in 2022, the height of human technology, and we're experiencing almost 10% cancellations from one of our largest hubs?
Right. So basically, blame it on COVID. COVID hit, and the traffic basically fell off a cliff. There was nobody flying. So here you are in a high cost industry, and you have all these expenses, and all of a sudden there are no customers to pay these expenses. Nobody's buying tickets. So the airlines panicked, and they started offering early out packages to anybody close to retirement. So all the major airlines allowed their pilots that were 2-3 years from retiring to leave with an incentive package, and that kind of cushioned the loss of revenue during COVID.
So they basically force-fired pilots.
They didn't fire them. I mean, they gave them a package. So it was actually, a pretty good deal for somebody that's approaching retirement. Hey, you want to leave a few years early? Here you go. Here's a package. We'll pay your medical, blah, blah, blah. And bridge you to the mandatory retirement age, which is age 65 for airline pilots.
Mm.
So that's basically what happened. So then, fast forward to the end of the pandemic. People have been locked up for, 1.5, 2 years, and all of a sudden, the traffic rebounds. And, not only did it rebound, it basically went straight up. I mean, if you look at a graph, it went bananas. So now you're a little behind the ball, and, in staffing, because they didn't expect the traffic to be so stimulated, and you get where you are. So basically, if you have any sort of burp in the system. You have thunderstorm cell over Newark Airport. You mentioned Newark Airport. Thunderstorm cell over Newark Airport. Well, that's going to cause delays, and the delays just snowball all day. Basically, a hub like Newark operates in banks. So there's a bank at, say, 8 a.m. that comes in and goes out. And then there's a bank at, say, noontime. They come in, they go out. Well, if one of those banks can't get off the ground, you have those airplanes stuck at a gate, and then the next bank comes in after the thunderstorm passes, and they're waiting on the tarmac for the gate because those other planes haven't left.
Yeah, the only thing I don't understand about that, though, is that weather's not new. So we've never experienced delays and cancellations like this, but we've experienced weather before.
Right. Well, but what I'm saying is, this causes pilots can only fly so many hours during the day. So if they're later in their duty period and they get caught in a thunderstorm like that, and now they're trying to get out in that bank, but they've timed out, they have no more duty time left. Well, that airplane's sitting on that gate, waiting for a crew. A crew usually gets a few hours. A reserve crew would get a couple hours to get to the airplane. So you see what I mean? It's more than just one thing. It's kind of a snowball thing.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying, but again, it's we've had weather in the past, right? So, are there less flights? Are there less crews? I mean, what is happening that's making this? Again, I don't have the analytics in front of me, but just as somebody that's flown a lot, it seems like there's less flights. There's less options. There's not as many early morning or late night flights as there used to be. There's not the quote unquote red eye.
Yeah. No, that's correct. I mean, that's all true. There are less flights. And, ideally, 10 years ago, an airline would like to run, would like to book an airplane to, about 80%. And what happens there is, at 80%, if you have the flight before it cancel, you can kind of take up some of the slack. Like if the next flight's at 80% and the next flight's at 80%, well, then you have, 40%, in the next two flights to take up the slack. But now the flights are booked almost 100%. I mean, everything is full, as you've seen.
Yep.
So as soon as you cancel a flight, you go to the rebooking counter and they tell you, well, we can't get you until Tuesday.
Yeah, literally. I mean, that's actually happened to me. I had a flight canceled on Saturday for a Sunday show. And I was in a small airport in Islip, MacArthur. And the airline told me, yeah, well, we're real sorry, but we can get you out on Tuesday. Like, that's insane. Won't pay for the hotel, mind you. And they only give you a $300 voucher to get on another flight, which doesn't even cover the cost of the flight, let alone the Uber. So, I mean, customer service with the airline is so, I mean, it's almost like obnoxious. They're like, they look at you like, what are you going to do about it? It's, I made a joke about it on, with that show tonight, but it's incredibly frustrating. I mean, it's an incredibly frustrating thing. What solutions are is this something that Pete Buttigieg is undertaking? Who is in control of making sure that this is being resolved? Because this is like a crisis that I feel like nobody's talking about. And then I've spoken with somebody at another airline who works as a flight attendant, and she said to me that this in her opinion, all stems from the mandatory COVID vaccinations and people taking time off. And then, she thinks that there's some union games being played here. So, I mean, there seems to be a situation where kind of everybody is kind of pulling at the seam here.
Well, and that's exactly it. It's just the entire industry from the curb to your destination at the other end is just maxed out to the seams. Just like any other job in this country, they're short pilots, they're short mechanics, they're short flight attendants, and depending on which airline you're talking about as far as the COVID vaccines, some were a lot harder about that than others. Some would let you get a religious exemption or some other kind of exemption, and some just laid you off or fired you.
So they were already maxed out, and they fired people anyway.
Yes.
And then there was no plan in place to replace the pilots that they gave the early packages to. There was no plan in place. Like, again, I mean, these aren't like mom and pop shops. These are multi-billion-dollar corporations that get billions of dollars a year in U.S. tax dollar subsidies. I mean, this is one. I mean, the airport is. I can't think that's the artery of American business. I mean, international business. This is, there's trade. It's not just the human beings that get on the flights. There's everything that gets air travel. You have, I don't think a lot of people know. A lot of our postal service works through commercial airlines. A lot of the mail you're receiving is flying on the postal airline with grandma. Your overnight mail, David. Maybe the new Communist Manifesto that you bought audiobook is. I don't know why you bought an audiobook and had it hard copy delivered to you. But
it's a collector's item.
Yeah, he's an old
soul,
soul, man. What he does have, he has a Chelsea jersey on the way. That's flying from Heathrow to Newark as we speak, and it's delayed, David. So, what do we do? What's being done? What's happening? Why are there less flights than ever before? If we have more technology than ever before, if unemployment is so low, how come how come you guys don't have people? Like, what's being done here? Like, this is something where this has to be taken care of. This is insane.
Well, so back to the traffic simulation and the recovery. They figured, and I think it's all airlines. They all figured that this was going to take a year or two, and they were on the press saying that it's going to take, the traffic wasn't going to recover until 2024, and all that, and you look at the numbers now, and traffic has more than recovered. I mean, basically, the only traffic that's not back is like the Fortune 100 type business traveler, but the small businesses are back. The leisure travel is through the roof, and they didn't expect any of that to happen. So,
see, they may be saying that to you guys, but that's not what they were saying to us, the public, because right here, I have the CEO of CEO of Delta Airlines on Bloomberg Business, and this is in 2021, saying that their stock is a big bounce back stock because they are expecting to fully recover to 2019 levels by the second half of 2022. We expect as high as 3% above pre-pandemic levels. So
yeah, I don't think they're going to get there, to be honest with you. They'll be close, but they certainly weren't saying that in the depths of COVID, for sure.
Yeah, but so the reason I bring that up is that if that is the excuse that they're giving you within the industry, like, oh, we just didn't see it happening, that's not what they were telling investors from Bloomberg. They were saying that they were going to beat 2019 levels by the second quarter of 2022. So, if it seems to me that they are either incompetent or they're lying, right? So, is this something? How much interaction with the board and the CEOs do everyday people have at these companies? I mean, these are massive international companies. Do pilots get to speak with the, like, who do pilots answer to? Like, what is the chain of command? What is the line of communication?
So, as far as my particular job goes, I have a chief pilot that I answer to, and my chief pilot is in my base where I'm based, and that's the guy that's my immediate boss, and barring anything going wrong, any kind of issue, I don't particularly talk to my boss too much. I mean, we're basically, you get a schedule that comes out, the month before, and, basically, you show up at the airport for your flight. As long as the flight goes on time, you don't hear anything about it. You fly around for a few days, and you come back.
You follow orders.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. It's well laid out. So, and it's been that way for the entire time airlines have been out there.
So this may sound like a stupid question, so forgive me if it does, but what contingency plans do they have in place, like I said, for weather, right? There's a weather occurrence in Newark. There's no such thing as a direct flight anymore. Every flight has a layover. So I'm flying to Oklahoma City, and I have to, for some reason, stop in Chicago from Florida to get to Oklahoma City. Now, there's weather outside Chicago. My flight doesn't get to Oklahoma City, and I'm assuming that pilot wasn't going to stay at Oklahoma City. Oklahoma City then goes to either Charlotte or Atlanta, and then from Atlanta goes to New York, and that's their route, right?
No, generally, you'll do a couple, 2 or 3 legs a day, and you'll end up in Oklahoma City or some for a layover. You can only fly so long.
Yeah.
So you'll generally end up in that place. But I mean, we could go into the whole hub and spoke system and why that is. Like if you want to leave from Altoona, Pennsylvania, and go to Oklahoma City, you're not going to find an airline that's going to fly there because there'll only be 2 people a day that want to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So they need to concentrate traffic in a hub in order to make those routes viable. So you'll see a lot of regional type jets right now, which are like 50 to 70 seat airplanes. And they'll fly you from Altoona to Chicago, and you'll gather with everybody else in Chicago that's coming in from, Madison, Wisconsin, Peoria, Illinois, all these smaller areas. And then you'll get on a big airplane and go to Oklahoma City from Chicago. And that's kind of how the hub and spoke systems work.
So that makes a ton of sense to me as a guy that's, ridden trains and buses in New York and New Jersey my whole life. I get that. That makes a ton of sense. What I don't get, though, is that what happens if the one flight doesn't make it? It messes everything up. If there's weather, if there's less flights than ever before, and people are packed to the gills, like you said, and they're trying to maximize, every flight, why, again, this may sound like a stupid question, but why aren't there like reserve aircraft? Like, why isn't there something at the airport that's like, well, this flight didn't make it in and that's going to blow our schedule for the next 3 days. Why don't we've got a reserve crew. Why don't we have a reserve aircraft?
Well, so you're talking about an airplane like an Airbus A320 or a 737 costs $90 million. So, to have an asset that costs $90 million just sitting there in reserve when you have to pay, I don't know what the payment would be on that a month, $300,000 a month. That's a lot of airplane tickets you have to sell to pay for that airplane. You can't just have a $90 million asset sitting around. And so there is some slop in the system as far as that goes. Because what you can do is maybe grab an airplane that's sitting around for 2 hours and move that forward to do that flight. And get those people there, but then that next flight is delayed, and then the flight after that's delayed, but you took the other airplane from. Do you follow me there? Like you're robbing Peter to pay Paul.
I hear you. To me, it just sounds like these companies have. It sounds to me like these companies are being remarkably cheap, is what it sounds like. There aren't enough pilots, and they're not hiring more pilots. There aren't enough planes, and the planes are too expensive. Like, this is. I mean, we're not talking about an industry that doesn't have a marketplace. This is maybe the single most viable industry on planet Earth outside of food and oil.
Well, it's a very high cost industry. I mean, there's a famous story out there. One of the CEOs in the 70s or the 80s removed an olive from every salad that went to first class for a whole year, and he saved $1 million. I mean, that's what they're worried about, and that's a true story.
Save one olive, made $1 million.
Over a year, yeah. Over a year. You think of however many flights a day, 2,500 flights a day for some of these major airlines. Mm-hmm. 1 hour off for every first class salad, saved $1 million a year. Mm. So it's a very cost heavy industry. You're paying pilots, a good salary, flight attendants are getting paid, mechanics are getting paid.
They should be getting paid. There should be people that are making big money in this industry because you don't want bottom of the barrel employees flying these giant missiles above our cities here.
Sure, when you're flying into that thunderstorm and sitting over Newark Airport, you want a guy that knows what he's doing for sure.
Yeah, but dude, I guess my thing is this, right? I'm not trying to come at your industry here. I'm trying to understand why it's like this now, because it's never been like this before.
I mean, some years have been better than others. I mean, I can remember some years, 10, 15 years back, they were pretty bad, for kind of the same reasons, but they weren't so acute. But, again, you can't have a lot of that stuff just sitting around because, a gate, for a year at Newark Airport is $1 million to rent a gate for a whole year.
So let's start there. Where does that money go to?
Do you really want to go into?
Sure. Yeah. I mean,
New Jersey government.
So that money is being paid to the government.
To the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey.
So the airlines have to pay rent to the state.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Correct. Yes. Yes. If you want to gate at Newark, I was told this is all hearsay. It's $1 million a year. This is from somebody. One of the people I know in Newark. So if United Airlines, that's a hub for United Airlines. They have, 100 gates there. Mm-hmm. At $1 million a pop.
$100 million.
That's a lot of money.
For one airline. Yeah. So the state of New Jersey is making somewhere around $1 billion a year running Newark Airport. Now, what does that money go to? What is the state of New Jersey then using that money for? Is there like...
I am not an expert on the state of New Jersey and where their money goes by any means.
Gotcha. But is the state of New Jersey doing the maintenance on the airport, or is that something that the who owns the actual airport? Is the airport owned? I don't even know if the airport's a private entity. Is it a public entity?
No, the Port Authority owns and runs the airport.
The Port Authority owns and runs the airport. Okay.
Just like they own all the bridges.
Yeah, Penn Station.
Penn Station, all the railroads, all 3 airports, they own LaGuardia, Kennedy, and Newark.
Well, the Port Authority doesn't actually own the railroads. Amtrak does. The federal government owns the railroads.
Okay.
And then they charge the state of New Jersey usage of the railroads.
That's right.
Yeah. Which is insane. Yeah. Government charging government, and the taxpayer pays it twice.
Right. There you go.
Pretty crazy. If you honestly think about that, we pay federal taxes that go to the maintenance of the railway that they then rent out to the state, and we pay state. Not only do we pay, now this is how crazy, David, New Jersey is. Not only do we pay taxes that go to, subsidies for New Jersey Transit, but then they charge us when we get on it as well. So our taxes pay for New Jersey Transit. Then we have a usage fee to get on it. I mean, New Jersey Transit. You can't walk 30 feet in New Jersey without finding a government scam. It's insanity. You literally, dude, they charge you to go outside. When I tell people in Florida that they charge us $14 to go on the beach, they're like, they charge you for outdoors? Yeah, they do. Like they charge for access to the ocean. So that right there. So like there's millions of dollars right there. So that's something like right off the bat, I'd have to do some more research into it. But if they actually really cared about the consumer, if they actually really cared, they can reduce those fees immediately. Publicly announce that they reduce those fees, and then those savings would theoretically and ostensibly be passed on to the consumer.
Well, good luck with that. I mean, we go back to the roads and the bridges. Once those bridges that were built in the 40s and 50s were paid off, those were supposed to be toll-free.
Temporary. It's just a temporary toll to pay for the cost.
How much do you pay to go across the Verrazano Bridge? It's a lot of money, my friend.
It's $18 now, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
$18 to get over the bridge.
So, good luck on getting them to let up on the fees. You know?
So what's and now is there an issue with the fleet as well? I remember hearing that there's an issue with the fleets. They're actually decommissioning certain planes.
Well, so what happened during COVID was some of the airlines took the opportunity because obviously there were a bunch of idle airplanes sitting around to kind of get some more synergy within their fleet. So you get somebody like United and Continental Airlines joined together, right? They had some aircraft that were similar. They had some aircraft that were not similar. So ultimately, what you would want to do is get rid of the aircraft that are not similar. Because every time for a pilot, they come into the airline, they get hired by the airline, they have all the FAA ratings that they need. You have airline transport, pilot license, and every other license you need, but you have to specifically train on the aircraft that you're going to fly. You can't just jump in on the aircraft.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're going to fly a Boeing 777, you have to go to where United trains, which is in Denver, Colorado, for 4 weeks to 6 weeks. And you go to ground school and simulator, and then you got on training flights, and then you're ready to fly with them. So it's quite a process. So whenever somebody moves to another airplane, they have to spend 6 weeks training on it.
Mm-hmm.
So
it really is. It's like a CDL in the sky.
Correct. Well, I mean, I think you're dumbing it down, but it's because it's certainly more than that. But
this is what we do around here, buddy. We dumb things down.
Yeah, I hear it. So basically, if you can reduce your fleet to three types, well then you're saving a lot of money rather than having like 10 or 12 types.
Yeah, but at the risk of dumbing it down, if you fire pilots and get rid of airplanes, I think you're setting yourself up for a massive shortage. So this idea that they didn't see it coming was like, to me, that's asinine. And then I got to ask, like, where's the oversight? Where's Pete Buttigieg? Like, who is sitting here going, yeah, you think it's a really good idea to fire 10% of your staff and get rid of airplanes?
Right. Right. Well, yeah. I mean, and that's what it comes down to. I think everybody was in such a panic during COVID. That they really, it just happened. Nobody was really looking at the other end of it. It's like, this is what we have to do right now, and let's do it, and we'll worry about the rest later. And that's the aftermath.
And that's where we're at right now. We're in this death spiral, cascading effect of, one delay leads to 3 delays, leads to 10 delays, and the next thing you know, you're delayed 5 days, and you're never able to catch up.
And that's it. I mean, basically, there is no way to take up the slack, basically. So when you want to leave on Saturday and your flight gets canceled, and like in your instance, and they want you to leave on Tuesday, that's kind of a rough deal. And one of the major reasons that happened to you is you were flying out of a small airport. So a small airport is not a hub. A small airport has 2 flights a day.
I hear you.
And if you go back to that equation that I talked about earlier, well, 10 years ago they wanted, 20% slop, in the bookings. Well, there's no slop in 2 flights a day, basically. So you're not getting out for days.
But even though it happened to me on a small airline, I can tell you it happened to Cassidy O'Malley, our opening act in in Charlotte at the Comedy Zone. She was supposed to leave 11 a.m. on Saturday. She didn't get. She was supposed to leave 11 a.m. on Saturday. She didn't get in until 5 o'clock on Sunday, 2 hours before the show. Yeah, spent overnight in Newark, the whole nine. Ended up having to switch airplanes. Again, to me, that's just something where, how can you run a business? How can you run a meeting? If you're an entertainer, how can you get to where you got to? I've been driving all over the country now. I drove to freaking Chicago and back. I drove to Nashville. I drove to Charlotte. One, because for some reason, even $4 gas, it's cheaper than flying, which is nuts. And the other side of it is I can't risk it. And I'm imagining that, I'm one of tens of thousands of people who, are in time-dependent businesses. It's not just entertainers, man. You've got people that you're supposed to have a meeting. You're in a Fortune 500 company. You're going out there. Maybe it's a little different because of Zoom and stuff like that, but you can't have a 72-hour window to arrive to your location. That's insanity.
Look at something like a cruise. If you're going to the Dominican Republic and going to sit on the beach, okay, you show up 2 days late. That's not great. That sucks. But hey, your cruise is leaving from the dock there in Miami, and you show up 2 days later. Where's the ship? It's already 300 miles away. So it affects the leisure traveler also. And you look at it from our standpoint. One of our big perks, personally, in the airline business, are free standby tickets. Well, these flights are at 100%. We don't get to use that perk any longer. You just can't get on those airplanes. So if I want to go vacation somewhere, I either have to buy a ticket or drive there, just like you can do.
Yeah. And that's part of your compensation. That's messed up. So you guys, the rank and file, the worker, are getting screwed as well. What's being done? What's being done? What can the people listening right now? What can they do to help? Where can they apply pressure? What is being done to change this? Because this is, as it currently stands, this is an untenable situation. This isn't just frustrating. This is legitimately this is deadly for commerce in our country.
Right. Absolutely. And that's kind of the reason why the taxpayer money was used, during COVID, because we needed that commerce to continue. So the airplanes were out there flying. They were still flying the mail around. They were flying medicine around. They were flying doctors around, first responders. That's all there was a lot of that going on during COVID, and that's kind of why the taxpayer money was used to keep that, to keep that lifeline alive. But what's going on is they're hiring as many people as they can. They are hiring thousands of pilots right now at all the airlines, from the smallest 50-seat jet regional airline to the largest major airline. They're hiring as fast as they can. Mm-hmm. And again, it takes six to 8 weeks to train a pilot. So if you hire 1,000 pilots at some of these major airlines this year, those 1,000 guys have to go through 6 to 8 weeks of training, and that's a lot of infrastructure, simulators, instructors, and all that stuff. So it takes a little while to get that going. But the good news is they're getting those people, so hopefully the pain is not as acute next summer as it was this summer.
Yeah, that's the hope. But in the interim, as crazy as this is, David, American Airlines received almost $7 billion in PPP loans. $7 billion. Do you know what they did with that money? They laid off 30,000 employees, and their CEO got an $11 million bonus, though. CEO Doug Parker took home $11 million in 2020 after decreasing the workforce by 30,000 people. 30,000 people decreased the workforce by $7 billion in taxpayer money. 30,000, and then we just got to sit here 2 years later and go, oh, well, we don't have the people. Yeah, it's because you fired them. That's why. It's because you took taxpayer money, you fired the people. We don't have enough employees. We don't have enough planes, and the American public, once again, as part of this great reset, are built back better. We have paid out the ass for a lower quality of life. Well, I appreciate your time so much today. If you have any closing thoughts you'd like to leave with our audience?
No. I I helped everybody understand a little bit about the airline industry.
Yeah.
Hopefully it all gets better.
If anything, you helped us take it off of the workers' backs a little bit, because I mean, I end up getting annoyed with with the with the flight attendants. They're getting nasty, boy. Flight attendants are turning into the sky cops. They're nasty out there, boy. But you know what? You feel like, because it's never happened before, you're like, all right, what's going on here? And then you hear rumors about this and that. You hear like some staff are trying not to make it. They're trying to like delay getting on and off the plane so that they don't have to take the last leg home because of that air time to make, to send a message to management and that this is a labor struggle. So the public's just trying to understand what's going on. And I mean, it's something as simple as supply and demand is an easy thing to understand. But then you have to look at the people in charge of this thing and go, well, how the hell did you let it get to this point?
Yeah, sure. I mean, ultimately, I guess the leaders of the company are the ones that are responsible, right? The buck stops there, hopefully.
Yeah, I would say that these CEOs have a massive responsibility to the public. And Pete Buttigieg on top of it, for Pete is so worried about, getting rid of it. I mean, he's part of the Green New Deal. I mean, this is where you really want to get into my crazy conspiracies. I half think they want to destroy the air industry because they want high-speed rail so damn badly. I think they're almost okay with letting this thing run off for lack of a better term, David. They want this thing to go off the rails because they want high-speed rail. They want it so bad. They hate that these planes are giant gas guzzlers, fossil fuel burners in the air, and the rest of us just have to shut up and suck it up. And it's, again, I'm just sick and tired of people using COVID as an excuse to get us to pay out the ass for lower quality of life, man. I'm just sick of it. And these people need to be held accountable because they took our money and they're making themselves so wealthy doing this, and we're getting less for it than ever before.
Yeah, I agree.